Hi, this is Amisha Gandhi with Signal 8, and we're at the Databricks conference. And we're talking about AI, and this show is sponsored by DM Radio and Insight Analysis. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Thank
Tell
you.
us a little bit about what we're seeing externally with customers and AI, and what you're finding.
Yeah, so we're right in the middle of the AI revolution here with Cloudera. If you think about it, we have over 25 exabytes of data on our platform worldwide, and customers want to be able to get the most value out of that data, which means thinking about AI. And AI is kind of funny because it reminds me sort of the first wave of AI back in the 90s and the whole big data wave where executives would allocate a bunch of money to solve their big data problem. And you talk to them about specifics, but they wouldn't know what they wanted to do, but they could still want to do big data. The same thing is happening with AI. And I think that word hype that we hear about with AI and we heard with big data, it shows the potential of the solution for these companies. There's such a broad applicability for AI in the world now. Companies just need a little more specifics about how it can help them, So we're hearing about the rise of agentic AI these days. And that is really a scary topic for a lot of companies because when you talk about giving agency to AI, that means it can make decisions and take actions on your behalf. So there needs to be care, especially in highly regulated areas like financial services and healthcare, where there's a lot of proprietary information that is at risk in that case.
So, what are some of the challenges that you're seeing with your customers that when they start implementing AI, because especially on agentic AI, what are some of the best practices that you would recommend?
Yeah, so a lot of these companies, I say, know they need to do something. We just dropped a survey about agentic AI where over 95% of the customers said they know they need to do AI, agentic AI, and they have it on the roadmap, but only a little over 50% have actually started doing anything with it. And that indicates, again, there's confusion as to what they should be doing and how they can do it. And one of the keys for this is being able to have multiple agents, because if you have one LLM, it tends to hallucinations and false positives and a lot of different information that may not be applicable. So what we're seeing is some of our customers are actually using multiple agents with multiple LLMs involved doing checks on each other. So it's doing the sanity check and implementing guardrails to make sure that they're not doing anything improperly. And so with all of that data that's on the Cloudera platform, they're able to tap into that and make best use of those LLMs with their data. And a lot of it is the proprietary data. So the LLMs are typically trained on public data. Now they can bring through either RAG or fine tuning their private data into the mix and make their results and their business value more accurate and more valuable.
No, that's really important. And then, where do people start? Because I think people are overwhelmed. Like you said, only a little over 50 have started doing that, right? So people are confused. What is your best practice for okay, where do I actually start?
Yeah, it turns out to be that some of the best applications to get started with are some of the most boring applications. If you think about things like chatbots, where you have customer service, and a customer service rep may take minutes, if not hours, to get back to somebody. If you have an agentic agent or a chatbot being able to answer that for the customer, it really improves customer satisfaction and it has all of the information available. We see customers using these chatbots to break down the data silos within their organization. So each department has data that can be contributed, and AI is able to take the best of all that data and make it available to those customers. Things like document digestion. You have a summarization that goes on where we're dealing with insurance companies where they have emails coming in and phone calls coming in from all of their clients asking about where their claims are, where the payments are going to be. And the customer service reps are overwhelmed with all of that data. They're using AI now to do document summarization so that the customers can understand where their claims are and to have the companies be able to understand those claims better.
No, that's great, and I love that example. Something that we were talking about beforehand was around private AI.
Yes.
It's something very passionate about. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
Why you're so passionate about it?
Absolutely. So one of the issues that a lot of these companies have, and again, we have a lot of financial services companies as customers, is they have a lot of private information and they don't want to ship that data out to an LLM because that LLM can then be trained on it and it may even make that data available to their competitors. So we are promoting the idea of private AI, which means that you're doing your AI within your own controls. So within your own tenant in the cloud or on premises, for example. And we do have a lot of customers still with data on premises. And the migration to the cloud has been a very popular thing. But what we're finding now is some companies want to repatriate that data back to on premises because they have more control over it and can implement tighter controls over that data. So private AI is this concept, and you'll also hear the variation of that called sovereign AI. And NVIDIA is mentioning that in some GTC Paris events this week, where countries are getting into building AI infrastructure because they realize the importance of controlling that AI and keeping it within their own borders. And then they can negotiate with other countries with pacts of understanding where they can exchange data for the betterment of their citizens and so forth. So being able to control that data, being able to build your own infrastructure, and Cloudera is a perfect platform for that because we're a true hybrid platform. So you can run the platform on cloud and on premises, and it's a consistent platform. So you can take your applications and run them and put the data where it makes sense for you.
No, that's great. What's one piece of advice that you would give to other leaders just coming out of this show?
So coming to this show and talking to companies, it's all about taking a look at your data architecture and understanding how it can move forward, not painting yourself into a corner. So for example, we rely very heavily on open source projects because that's an important way to not get vendor lock-in. So for example, we're based on Apache Iceberg as an open data lakehouse format because that allows you to use any execution engine you want, whether it's Cloudera or Snowflake or any of the other applications out there to make use of your data in one central location. And we have a key tenet of don't move your data to the AI, bring AI to your data. That allows you to maintain that control and to keep your data safe in this concept of private AI.
That's great. I like the concept of bring AI into your data. So thank you very much for your time, and stay tuned for more coverage from the show. Hi, this is Amisha Gandhi with Signal 8. We're being sponsored by DM Radio and Insight Analysis, and we're here with Molly from Cloudera. And we're going to be talking about internal AI, what's happening at companies. Tell me what's going on, because there's a lot of hype around AI these days, and companies are changing. So.
There sure is. And I think it's happening so fast that companies in some respects are struggling to implement before something new comes on. And so I think there's a bit of it where there's pressure, right, from executives and boards to really get this implemented, but then also too to be ensuring that there's some sort of ROI behind it. And so I know that we're really focused internally on how we can use AI for efficiencies and effectiveness and the things that we're doing across all functions at Cloudera. And I know from a marketing perspective, we're really focused now on how we can be bold with AI. But I think there's things we have to think about around guardrails and acceptable use and making sure that the content that we're looking at is private and that we're not sharing things outside of a firewall, if you will, that we shouldn't be sharing. And so we've recently implemented Gemini in Cloudera. And so it's a tool that we're all being trained on. We're looking at how we can write gems to ensure that we're using the tool in the way that's effective for us. So in my role in communications, I'm really focused on how can we take what's going on in the market, how can we take our narrative and create content and thought leadership that will resonate then with our customer base. We're looking at how we can use it for metrics and measuring. We use it for competitive research to ensure that we're where we need to be and that our message is resonating and maybe differentiated from our customer or from our competitors.
And how do you do that? Because all the GPTs and large language, they're pulling from sources that are public. So it could pull from your competitor's website. So how do you train the AI, or what's the training there?
Well, I think that in some respects, right, that's where we talk about gems is like, what are we looking to train it to do? Obviously, writing good prompts is key. But I also think, too, there is a big piece around AI that you need to go in and check your sources, right? Because it could pull from different areas and maybe not necessarily be pulling from the same report or the same website. And so it can't just be a lift and shift of the data you're looking at. You've really got to analyze what's coming through to make sure that it's appropriate for your cause and what your purpose is.
No, that sounds great. So some people are also taking what they're getting from AI, putting in another AI. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's where it gets kind of tricky. Like, how far do you want to go down that rabbit hole? It's just constantly then generating a bunch of different data, and I haven't done it myself, but I think that that's probably going to be something that when I think about what our chief data officer is training us on, those best practices, those guardrails on how we use it appropriately and effectively.
Thank you very much, and stay tuned for more coverage. Okay. Hi, this is Amisha Gandhi with Signal 8 in partnership with DM Radio and Insight Analysis here at the Databricks Conference 2025. I had the luck of running into Sabrit Johar, who is with Stackbane, and he is an independent analyst and a mover and shaker in the industry for many years. Welcome.
Hey, Amisha, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Great to see you here.
Yeah.
And yeah, Eric is a good friend as well. So.
Yeah. And so we're here, we're talking about the craziness of AI. There's a lot of talk about agentic AI here at the conference. Can you give me your views on what you think, companies are doing internally and externally around this topic?
Yeah, internally, actually, most of the enterprises are just they were playing with the sort of POCs. Now they are sort of getting their feet wet with some simple use cases, and some are struggling more than others. I think the trick to succeed is to get this simpler use cases, like get your people trained in this newer sort of protocol, MCP and A2A and all that stuff, which is thrown at us like on a daily basis almost. So it's a very challenging situation for most enterprises, but they are getting their feet wet with the coding, code system, and that's number one use case, I'll say. And a lot of use cases in the systems of engagement, like CRMs and marketing portals and stuff like that, the content creation.
Right.
Those people are benefiting from these all these models and the applications which are built around these models a lot. Yeah.
We're hearing a lot about agentic AI. So what can you tell us, in your view, where that stands now, what the hype is, and what the reality is with that?
With AI in general?
Agentic AI.
Agentic AI, what is that?
Like every time agentic AI, where it's like the AI is making some decisions in the workflow to move things forward, right?
Okay. Oh yeah, agentic AI. Okay. Yeah. I think we are in the very early innings of that. Like the people are building very simple agents, but we have seen this movie earlier.
Yeah.
So during client server era, then web applications. We used to have the DLL hell during client server era, and then API hell, I call it. Like a lot of APIs all over the place, and then now it's like agentic. I shouldn't call it hell, but like we'll find out the complexity of agents as we progress, and because we need to control the agents for like who can do what, the security and data privacy, and then scaling of it, and there's a lot actually we need to figure out. Like we need kind of enterprise services bus kind of concepts, a platform, maybe a couple of those. As you know, like it comes with like Microsoft comes with their own, and then Google comes from there, and AWS, and they throw these things at you. And then most of the time, what happens is that the open source, in the lieu of the fact that we don't have standards, then open source becomes the standard. That's where we got all the REST APIs and all that. So I think we'll get there. Anthropic, is leading with the MCP right now. We'll see where we get in like. I think next 6 to 8 months are like this just figuring out period, and then after that things will start maturing, and then reality.
The reality will come out then of what's really working, what's not working, and where we're going to go from there.
Yes, we'll go from
and
there. We always do that.
Yeah, it's with anything that comes out, right? But it feels like every time these cycles happen, things go faster. There's the internet, and it went at a certain pace, and then there was like our word, digital transformation. We've heard that for years, and then there was something else, and now there's mobile, right? But each leap we make forward seems to be going at a much more rapid pace.
The pace is picking up, especially with AI. People like I was sort of discussing this with a few folks yesterday, that with analysts, right? They say, "Oh yeah, AI is upping the game." I said, "Yes, it's upping the game for all of us." So now, actually, if you want to stand out as a company or as an individual or analyst or thought leader, whatever you are doing, right? You have to punch above these models, what they give you. So you have to leverage these technologies, and then on top of that, you have to bring your own creativity on top of that. So people who are not using AI or models,
Right.
I think they will lag behind
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I think you will agree,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, we've seen that with companies here and the vendors. So, stay tuned for more coverage and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Amisha Gandhi with Signal 8 in partnership with DM Radio and Insight Analysis. We're here at the Databricks Conference 2025 in San Francisco. Mostly in healthcare, right? Where do you see, in healthcare, what are some of what are maybe some of the top problems that that your customers are solving for?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So my focus is purely on healthcare, as you rightly mentioned. But some of the challenges that the customer is facing is, some of the traditional challenges like today our data is in on-premise. Can I move to the cloud? These are challenges that has been there for a long time. But now as we go more deeper into this agentic AI use case and so on, how can we make an organization more productive? Let me give you a great example. Uh, you take something called as an EMPI or data mastering. Traditionally, data mastering is done through solutions and products where there is a human in the loop, and they are probably spending a lot of their time looking at the data. And another great example is document summarization. There are people, caregivers, sitting and looking at hundreds of pages of documents at a patient and trying to make sense out of it, and then reaching out to the patient, right? What AI has really done is help them become more efficient. So if there are hundreds of pages of documentation, you can absolutely use something like a LLM or a Gen AI solution to summarize the document into probably a couple of paragraphs or a page, which makes the care managers or the caregivers make them more effective and efficient. Uh, what we have seen, like for example, on average, a caregiver takes close to 2 to 3 patients a day. Now with the whole AI, they are not reaching out to patients a day, which is a
Wow.
2 times, 3 times more improvement in the efficiency. So that's what we are seeing mostly is the common challenges is, can you build us our own data model, or can you sort of build an agentic AI that is looking at different data sources, bringing the data, creating prior authorizations and lot and so forth. So as students, our approach has been, let's understand the outcome, let's understand the value that is bring, and then the technology eventually follows, helping them solving the problem effective and efficiently.
No, I really love that your approach is really around the business, the problem, and then the technology is just there to support it. Whereas I think a lot of people look at how is the technology and now what am I going to solve? So that's fantastic. And congratulations on your award.
Thank you so much.
Stay tuned for more coverage. Bye bye.
Thank you.